Sure. So I'm Zainab Baldecki. I work at Escuela Verde. It is a middle school, high school in Milwaukee. It is a project-based school. It's very different than any other. It's a very non-traditional school. We don't have classrooms, we don't do grades. We focus on sustainability, restorative justice, and social justice. Those three. So eco-pedagogy, social justice, and restorative justice. Those are our three main core values. So that's what I do in my work right now. The first question, so I can make sure I'm on my time track, is to tell you a little bit about my story, right? Like how I got to where I am. So I was actually born and raised on Milwaukee in the South Side. So I'm teaching people from with my community. It's awesome. And born on the South Side, I'm one of six. First generation here in the U.S. My mom was born in Mexico and my dad was born in Lebanon. And I went, and so since we were on the South Side, it's one of the, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Milwaukee dynamics and zip codes and stuff. It's definitely one of the more underserved zip codes in Milwaukee County. And all six of us actually ended up going to college, so that is a very proud feat that my mom and dad can have. In undergrad, I did a double major, double minor. So career-wise, professionally, right? I did elementary ed, sociology, educational policy, and Chicano Latino studies. All of that just because I couldn't find which one was the best one that I wanted to do, so I just added them all up, because then in my mind, I could do whatever I want with that. Then I went to graduate school. I taught in London for a little bit, and then I went to graduate school at University of Pennsylvania. Did not really like it. It was very pretentious for me. And it was very, it took me, my transition time was really long, and the program itself was only a year, about a year and a half. And I decided that I was going to finish it up at my master's program at Marquette. So at Marquette I did College Student Personnel Administration, so that's what my master's is in, so basically like higher ed. And I did a little bit odds and ends after my master's work, working with a research organization, working at another university, and then it led me to Escuela Verde. So that's a little bit of my background. My passion has always been in education, specifically in as it relates to social justice within education for my particular groups, which are Latinos, people of color, and low-income first generation. Those are my people I want to help bring up with their families, with me, with everything, right? Like I want them to be the most successful that they can be. And that's really where my school that I work at right now, Escuela Verde, I feel like really allows me to do all of that in so many areas, and areas that I wasn't even necessarily into, especially like for the sustainability aspect of it. Never really crossed my mind, but being more at the school has definitely opened my eyes to how this racialization of advocacy for the earth or the planet has definitely played a factor in my life that I never even knew really existed. So it's also just broadening my experience and my knowledge base. So I think that's pretty good on time.
Only 3 minutes.
Oh, I felt like I was going over. Let's see what else. That's all I really had to say.
So your dream?
No, that's the next one.
What's the next time?
Yeah, that's the next
Oh,
one.
you mean you have
I
to
was
go
thinking-
all the way around and then around the ice?
I was like, yes,
Okay, Rowan?
Hi everyone, I'm Rowan Gio Sutherland. I have a strange accent, but I was born in the USA, in Pennsylvania. My dad is French, my mom is British, and because of different circumstances I had to move quite a lot during my youth. And then I think when I went to university I didn't really know what to study. So I looked at the list and I saw international relations and I thought, oh, that could work. And my mom was really happy, you know, I think she imagined me as a diplomat or something like that. And I think it was really good. The study really helped me to get a global vision of how our world functions. And from there, I worked in international institutions, international agencies, NGOs, but also the private sector, kind of multinational companies, but also startups, small kind of family companies, which I think also kind of helped me dive deeper into this vision. And during that time, I really saw that the solutions to our problems were, you know, at the local level, community level. And the fields that I was really interested in were housing, water, agriculture, and especially education. So I went through this path, and then I ended up in Cameroon, which I'll talk about tomorrow. But what happened in Cameroon is, we were talking about this today, I already had lost a lot of the ideals that I had. You know, if you want to do something specific and you want to, you know, do something good, positive, but you realize that this kind of system in which you are does not enable you to do this, then for me it was just either I would have to be a hypocrite or schizo. so basically Cameroon was a strong moment because the kind of corruption, incompetence, you know, personal interest that you see everywhere over there is just kind of in your face. Nobody, you know, has to hide. A minister, you know, would build this huge castle mansion in the middle of a shanty town, and it doesn't bother anyone because, you know, people go there, beg for money, and they're happy too. So I think for me it was that moment where I just decided, okay, I cannot continue down this path. And at the same time, I met this orphanage, which was really beautiful, like a beautiful initiative, noble cause, and they had a lot of problems. So I thought, okay, how could I help them, but in a sustainable manner? And so I started, you know, making calendars to help the children go to school 1 year. But you know, you have to do this again the next year. So I thought, what kind of solution could work for them, where they would just not have to, you know, put their hand out and always, you know, ask for money. So then I went on this trip to South America and Africa and other places, trying to learn more about sustainable construction, sustainable agriculture, and that's where I started working with Earthship Biotecture. And I learned a lot from their principles because they aim to build houses which are completely autonomous. That means that the house itself is actually a living entity and gives you everything you need. So it harvests the rainwater, it produces its own energy through the sun and the wind, it heats and cools itself naturally without the need for any electricity, produces its own food, uses natural and recycled materials. So for me that was a kind of strong experience. And recently we went to Cameroon for the first phase of the project. And that was a success in its own ways, and we're going to continue this. And in the meantime, Earthship has offered me a job which is in New Mexico, Taos, and all of you are welcome to come whenever you want. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Gervis Miles, and I guess let me just start with thank you for having me. I grew up here in Milwaukee, and I grew up in the 53206 zip code, and I am probably one of many people who grew up from that area who isn't spoken about in a non-negative manner. I mean, I grew up with a lot of people who didn't fall into the things that were portrayed in 53206, even though it is partly true. But currently, right now, I'm a conservation warden with the Department of Natural Resources, and I have been in that capacity for going on 20 years. I started out as a sheriff's deputy, but prior to that, I was a zookeeper for the Milwaukee County Zoo, and this is where I met Dana. And I had this dream of being a veterinarian, you know, and but what happened was that I found out that math was a big requirement, and I hated math, so that wasn't going to happen. So I ended up taking some odd jobs, and then I found out that the zoo was hiring. I interviewed, became a zookeeper there, and I served as a zookeeper there for about 8 years, working with the large mammals for about 2 years, and then I worked in the primate house for about 6. And what I found out in my relatively short time there was that I met a lot of different people from all over the world at that time. I met people from Africa, I met people from Asia, I met people from Europe, and I met people who were on the front lines doing stuff to protect wildlife and stuff. But, you know, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. The job, me not having a college degree or anything, wasn't a lot of upward mobility, so I decided to become a sheriff's deputy, and I served there for about 3 years as a canine officer. But what I hated working in the jail, because I was assigned to the jail, what I hated about working in the jail was I had run into so many people that I either grew up with or that I could kind of empathize with. And to be kind of graphic about it, the jail has this odor at the time I was working, and it still does when you have humans pile up in that capacity, you know, that close all the time. And I took this spiritual journey with an African shaman, and I literally I literally began to see what it felt like to be on maybe a slave ship or something, because that to this day I can still get whiffs of that smell of bodies and just, you know, humans being compacted together like that. So, you know, I was didn't like working there, came out because there's a lot of mandatory overtime and this kind of stuff, and I was coming out of the jail one day after having to work a 16-hour shift, and I saw a guy walking into the jail. He climbed out of a pickup truck. He was wearing some hip waders, and I asked him what he'd do and, you know, what was his job, and he was wearing a gun belt like a regular police officer stuff, and he told me he was a game warden, and I asked him and inquired about the job, and I did a ride along, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. I took the test, became a game warden, and this is where I've been ever since. And I guess my thing is that I just like, you know, connecting with people on different levels. I currently am experimenting with raising sheep in an urban environment at Growing Power. Meeting just wonderful people there. I had an opportunity to travel to Kosovo several years ago, just after 9/11. A friend of ours was over there working for the UN, and we went over there as a group, and that opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I guess that's it about me. How's that?
Well, I'm not a sit-get gal, so I'm gonna move around. So this woman and this man meet at a Martin Luther King rally, and apparently they run out of condoms, and I'm conceived. One's from Whitefish Bay, and one's your neighbor. And they can't have this baby because the parents can't handle that understanding. So the baby's born somewhere in Wauwatosa. And this baby is me. And this baby comes out hollering and happy and dancing and wanting nothing more than connection and family. Absolutely will do anything for connection and family. Including perform, including getting straight A's, including doing anything anyone asks her to do for any adult, anywhere, at any time. Then she discovers pain. She discovers what it feels like to have violence on the text of your flesh. And she discovers what it feels like in order to move into positions of dissociation, I think is what they call it. But you can take your brain and you can take your psyche and you can move it around the room when your body goes this direction. And she learns that, and I learned that. So there's the she, and there's the I, and then continuing through all of this is the we. Because I see in the faces of all the kids as I move progressively north, they're not allowed to play with me. But there's pain in their eyes because I'm interesting, and I'm cute, and I'm funny, and I can do all your homework. So, the agony on the school bus, the agony in the face, the agony of the face of someone who wants to be my friend, but at home is told they cannot be, causes me to be a clown, causes me to be what people call attention seeking, but really is about connection. It's really about understanding. It's really about taking you out of your pain, because it hurts more than any beating or sexual violation has ever been in the body. To watch the pain in another person's face who wants to be a friend but cannot. And you carry that with you, and she carries that with her. And I carried that with me. And to every space that I went to, including playing with all my paper dolls, because someday I was going to come to Milwaukee. Someday I was going to grow up and I was going to be there and have enough money. It took me like 7 years to save up $22, but I did it. I did it. And then my mom spent it somewhere, because she was a single parent mom, and she kept picking up these toads and kissing them, hoping they would turn into princes. And she loved getting married, but not really being married, because it's sort of weird and sort of violent and sort of strange. But she kept birthing these babies, but then when they didn't want them, sometimes she would just rip them out. And when she would do these things, she would be in her bed, and she would be bloody, and she'd be hurt, or she'd be tied up somewhere in some sort of 70s S&M scene. And I would take them all down. I would take all the babies to bed and I would feed them. Or I would pick her up and I'd take that blood up and I'd wring it out. Or I'd wash her face. Or I'd comb her hair, which was down. I mean, my mother was beautiful, looked like Cher. Amazing, beautiful woman from Whitefish Bay. And all that time, we spent navigating poverty. Because really what each one of the males were saying that she would pick, she would just find everywhere, is that little girl that you have, she's always looking at me and telling me the truth. The truth makes enemies, I found out when I was young. It's really hard to be connected to people and tell the truth. If I could only lie. If I could only learn to lie. If I could just be woven into criminal thinking, or the lying kind, not the hustling kind. I actually am really good at the hustling kind. Because poverty and because truth and honesty and the ability to navigate social sayings and the unwritten rules and AFDC sheets and all of the ways to navigate to get money are actually what I really was good at. Really, really was good at. Really, really was good at. Until I had my 401k, until I had my, is that for me? Until I had my 401k, until I had my portfolio, until I had a beautiful wife, actually married the farmer's daughter. Until I had 3 kids of my own, until I had everything that I needed that I thought was supposedly there, that I was making it. And then the baby brother, he climbed up a tree with a rope that he knit with his own hands and he hung himself. And I had to cut him down and take him and lay him on that sheet. And when I did that and I gave him a hug, and I said, "You can go," he hugged me on my back. And at that instant I knew that there was more than what's here. And I can never unknow that. And so I gave everything away, including my wife and my kids and everything I had, in order to go up the mountain and ask the hard questions. And that's how I ended up here today.
Well, if he was any greater, he would be a cheese grater. My name is Delbert Charging Crow. I'm Oglala Lakota Sioux. I'm full-blooded Indian. I was born and raised in Wombly, South Dakota, which is right in the middle of the Badlands of South Dakota on a Pine Ridge Indian reservation. My seventh generation grandpa is Crazy Horse. My grandpa, who earned our name Charging Crow, earned the name by charging after the Crow Indians because they used to fight the Crow Indians. But then, back then they killed so much crows, they just tired of killing them, so they decided to make it into a game. So Grandpa Charging Crow would charge into the Crow Indians and count coup on them. So my name, Kari Kuwa Ku, that's what that means, to count coup on the Crow Indian. But the white people, when they gave us a number, a new number, to put us into this reservation, they changed our name, and they started calling us Charging Crow. So now a lot of people think I'm that black crow that charges after pigeons, and it's not the same. When I was a little boy, I used to always venture out to the Badlands and go and listen to nature, listen to the wind when it blew through the trees, and the woodpeckers would peck holes into the branches, and the natural flute sound would come through, and then there was a waterfall. And I grew up with 16 of us. I had 10 sisters and 4 brothers. My dad and mom and my grandma, big grandma. And I had love for horses. Since I was 5 years old, I was riding horses. And when I was 5 years old, I was out in the Badlands. My younger brother was 4. And we were out in the Badlands, running around out there. And it was safe. There was no evil spirits. There was no ghosts. There was no Stephen King. There was no, what's his name? Anyway, there was nothing like that, you know, because we didn't have TV. We had radio, but we had big size D batteries, and we could only listen to polka music every morning. And I was the one, Dad and Mom would holler at me to get up in the morning and get the fire going for winter, and they would dress me up in warm clothes, and I'd have to go to school, and after school I'd come back and tell everybody there's school, and then we'd all dress up and go back to school. But I grew up riding horses. I grew up out in nature. And when we took a bath, we had to haul water from a pump or from down in the well, the spring, haul water up, and then heat it on a wood stove, and then they'd hang a blanket up, and each one of us would take turns to jump in there, and Mom would have her 2 horse brushes and soap and scrub us down, and Dad would dump water on us, and then we'd go on, and then the next one. It was quite a life when I was growing up. Saturday was bath night. So when I went out to the Badlands, I discovered this little waterfall. So I snuck a piece of soap out there, and they were wondering why I was so clean all the time. I had my own nature. And there was a cave out there where we used to play all the time. Sometimes we'd be gone 2-3 days. I'd be gone 2-3 days, they wouldn't even notice. About 3 days later, they worked over. I didn't even notice he's not here. I've been here for a couple of days. One time they were looking for me because I was gone. And I was sleeping in a doghouse with my dog. He was a big German Shepherd named King. He was my protector. We used to chase rabbits. We used to like to run with him and chase rabbits. And so I grew up understanding nature and understanding life in that way. And so to this day, I show that respect, and all these gifts were given to me. Through the Stone Nation people, I can hold a stone and it would communicate with me. I could speak to the animals. The crows would say good morning to me. One time I was going down to the lake to see her, and all these crows were up there, and when I got out, I said, "Boy, can't you hear them? They're saying, car, car, car." Did you see me coming? Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Maaviva, and I'm really happy to be here. Let's see, I grew up in an island called Puerto Rico. Most of you know it as Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States. And that relationship is really unique, I think, compared to most territories with the U.S. today. And so I grew up in a family of immigrants, which means that there was really just a few of us in the island. My mom was born in Venezuela to a Palestinian and a Venezuelan mom, and so her family was also not around, and then my dad's family was in Spain. And so I grew up in Puerto Rico with a lot of merchants, a lot of people that had come to the island to just make it work, because where they were from, things weren't working out. And so expectations for me were to make it work, nothing else. Nobody in my family went to college before me, and so really there wasn't any pressure other than, conserving the values of my family. But I wanted to save the world. I had a teacher in middle school that was amazing. She was beautiful, she was smart, and she took us outside all the time. And you would think growing up in an island, that's what everybody does. Everybody's wearing dreadlocks and listening to reggae, but no. It's a big city. It's pretty much what Puerto Rico is. Some of you have been there, and there's a lot of diversity. And so I grew up in the city, and had it not been for that teacher, I don't think I would have had that relationship I had with nature, which led me to work with the Sierra Club and wanting to really see the world. To this day, I have to admit shamefully that I haven't used my passport, but I want to see more of the world. So I decided to go to school for chemical engineering, because I thought if I work in the petrochemical industry, I can maybe go in there and change everybody's mind and make things better for everybody. And so I started doing research throughout the years while I was in college, and I really fell in love with science, with spending time in the lab. And so kind of changed my mind about that. And when I finished college, I was debating between going to grad school or really experiencing the world. And so I had so many experiences and so many dreams and so many options, and I could do anything, because that's what my parents told me. And so I didn't want to work for corporate America, and so I started volunteering at a local nonprofit that worked in developing Puerto Rico's economy, focused on developing intellectual property in the universities. So working with professors, helping them commercialize the research into something that could help Puerto Rico have a more locally sustainable economy. So I did that for a little bit, and I loved it. But then I realized I was always going to be the intern unless I had more experience. And so I went back to the job fair, and I got a job with a big corporate Fortune 100 company. And I worked in manufacturing for about 5 years, specifically in the area of food. And I had a great career while I was with that company. I did a lot of really cool stuff, and I learned about how things happen in America, right? So I moved to Milwaukee to do that, and I've been here 6 years now, 5 of those working in the food industry, and 1 at Escuela Verde. Towards the end of my time there, I started realizing how great my life had turned out. I was making more money than everybody in my family, and I was having, I was living the American dream, for some people. But I wasn't happy, and I felt like my life had no purpose, it had no north. And so I started volunteering at different organizations, and I found Escuela Verde as a volunteer. And I started doing math tutoring with the students, and I just realized that that's when I was feeling alive, and that was what really brought life to my time. And I learned that they were hiring and opening positions, and so that's how I ended up at Escuela Verde. I am an advisor, so we don't have teachers at the schools, and I'll give a great intro about the school, but essentially each adult in the building has a role of advising students in their journey towards becoming who they want to be. And so I am one of 7 advisors in the school, And it's wonderful. I get to bridge my love for food and culture with science and math and things that I do with students on a daily basis. And so yeah, I am at Dana at EV talking about how could we bring students to the experiences that I'm sure we've been talking about, and now I'm here.
Quite some stories. My name is Walter Goldstein, and I am living in just north of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I have an organization called the Maaviva Institute. Maaviva is a native word. It means corn or corn spirit, and that's appropriate because we breed corn. We breed corn for organic farmers in particular. My journey as a young person, I was very interested in nature and had this sort of foundational feeling that there was a wisdom in nature. There was something living in nature that was so interesting that we could learn from as people. And that wisdom, I couldn't find that at the university in the same way. At the time when I started the university in the 70s, biology had dived into molecular biology, so the wisdom was being found on the molecular level, whereas I was interested in finding it in really living animals and plants and so on, really in life. And what life was being defined as microbiological mechanisms rather than something that I could sense that really I wanted to learn from. So it led me on a journey. I found out about anthroposophy, I found out about biodynamics, and I continued my education. I got a bachelor's in botany and a master's and a doctorate in agronomy, which is sort of the science of growing crops. And I pursued that. I did work comparing different farming systems, organic, biodynamic, conventional farming systems, and studied different crop plants, and came to Wisconsin in 1986 to help start Michael Field's Agricultural Institute. I was there for 25 years, and in that time I was asked by a group of farmers to start to breed corn. I didn't really know what that would mean. Taking on corn was a very special, has been a very special task, because corn is not just a crop plant, it's also the most holy and special crop for this whole continent and the continents of North and South America. It's a very, very special plant. And it's being used in a certain way by our normal culture in a way that I consider to be somewhat abusive. And it's important that we put it back on the right track. So that's the effort of the Maaviva Institute. After 25 years, we started this institute really to work with corn and other cereals to breed them and bring them forward in a new way, utilizing the fantastic treasures of the past and including them into a new vision, so that the corn that we're working with is very generous. There's very many gifts, and we're utilizing them. And 3 of the gifts that we're utilizing are enhanced nutritional value, so that we're breeding corn with very special protein quality, with enhanced amounts of carotenoids, which are that orange color that is so important for our health, for us to eat it. We're also working with corn that has the ability not to be pollinated by GMOs. So there's natural genetic systems in corn that will keep out other pollen that doesn't have the same genetic systems, and those genetic systems are found naturally in corn, particularly in Mexican sweet corn, and we're breeding that into our corn. And then the third thing we're breeding with our corn is the ability to work with microbes in order to get nitrogen. And we think a lot of it's coming from the air. The microbes are actually fixing nitrogen for the crop, and thereby helping the plant to obviate the need for nitrogen fertilizer. And we discovered that once again in these ancient races of corn. So basically our work now is to commercialize, is to bring this out to the world so that it can be useful for the world. And that's a challenge in itself. How do you commercialize in the setting that we're in today in a way that actually is balanced and not consumed by these huge monster corporations that actually rule the world?
Thank you.
Ready to the next question?
Go.
So now I can answer the dream question.
Yeah.
So, this one was an interesting question